Hello guys, welcome to my channel again. So in today's we're building a simple project using the HTML, the CSS and the JavaScript. We're building a dice rolling project. So this is the project that we're going to build, a dice rolling project. So this will be our project. Whenever we roll some dice, can specify the number of dice we want to roll. Let's refresh. If you want to roll one die, you can roll one die. Whenever you want to specify, let's say rolling 3 dice, you can roll 3 dice. As you can see, this image, the way images are changing, also the result is being output here. The dice rolling have rolled 2, 1 and 4. As you can see, 2, the first one, the 1 and the 4, so it's matching. Also you can roll up to maximum number of 9 dice, and you can check they are also matching 5, 4, 1 and so on. So this is what we'll be building today. So ensure you have a Visual Studio installed in your PC. Also install a live, go to the navigation section of the extension and install the live server, so that you will see whatever you will be designing will be displayed on this. This is what we call a live server. It runs within this 127, the port 55500. This is a virtual website, so to be running through this. So let's go ahead and do it. So first of all, create a folder. I have a folder named dice project. It's within this, so I have a dice project here, this folder. So I'll be using that folder to create my project. So navigate to the Visual Studio, navigate to the file menu and open a folder. Select the folder that we want. Our folder is dice project. Select the project, and within this dice project I have some photos. These are some photos that I'll be using. As you can see, I'll be using these photos. So ensure you have downloaded those photos. Make sure you have those photos. You can go to any website and download any photo and save it on a folder, so that you can use any sample of your design photos. So the next thing, let's create a folder. Let's create a file. So right click on this empty space here and open new file, and we'll name this file as index.html with an HTML extension. Also we'll be creating another file. This one is for styling, so we'll have a style.css, and also we'll need a Java, so we'll need a JavaScript, so we'll need a script. For Java JS. So make sure you use this extension, the JS, the HTML and the CSS. Those are file extension for HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So the next thing, let's go ahead and within our HTML, let's generate a random code using the exclamation, press shift exclamation enter. So it should be shift exclamation then enter. Let's name our title, give it dice, it will be dice rolling project. Also remember to link your CSS, so go ahead and link your CSS, which is style, and within the body section, within the closing tag, also link your script, JavaScript, so source, then it will be script JavaScript. That's good, and we are good to go. Now let's go ahead and create a division within our body tag. We'll create a div header, so we'll have a division header with an ID. Let's give it an ID which is header. Then within the header division, let's create a h1 element. Then let's name this dice rolling program. Also, let's create another h1 element. This will be dice roller. Also, we'll need to create a label. We'll need to label our input, so we'll create a label for our input. So go ahead and create label. Then this will give it a label with an ID label. So we'll have an ID label. Then the label name will be number of dice roll, be number of dice roll. Then we need an input whereby we'll be specifying the number of dice we want to roll. So we'll need an input. This input will be of type number. Then we also need to specify the ID for our input. Specify the ID. Just call it number of dice roll. Be number of dice roll. Also, we need to specify the value, the initial value. So it will have a minimum value for 1, meaning we cannot go beyond value 1. Also, we need to specify the value. The value should be number and it will start with 1. So instead of initializing this value with 0, so we'll simply initialize it with 1. And also the next thing we'll need to assign the minimum value that the minimum number of dice we can roll per single rolling. It will be 1. For this instant it will be 1, and also up to a maximum of 9. Will not exceed that number. So that is it. The next thing we need a button. Whenever we click a button, then the dice will be rolled. So we'll need a button. Create a button with a button ID. So with an ID of btn, you can call it button, and with a button name dice roll. Also, within our button, we want to create a on-click function. Whenever we click that button, it should perform some function, and this function, one of this function is to roll the die. So you want to create a function for rolling a die, so you're using an on-click function. Within an on-click function, we need to create a function name. Our function name will be rolling dice. So we'll create a rolling dice. That will be a function name. So we'll be using that function name later on the JavaScript section. So another thing we need to create two division for displaying the results whenever we roll a die, and also the one that will display the image dice result. So we need two divisions. So we'll create a division for the output result. So we'll need a div for output result. So give this div an ID of output result. So also we'll need another div for image dice result. So create another one for image dice. Let's go with div. In this div, let's carry this, pass it here with an ID of that one, image dice. So These are the only HTML component that we need for now. So we'll be designing these components within our CSS file. So let's navigate to our CSS. So make sure you save this. Also, we'll need a live server, so ensure you install a live server within your Visual Studio. So if you have a live server, you can navigate at the bottom right and click run on live server. Also, you can right click here and also run with a live server. In case you don't have any live server installed within your Visual Studio, you can go to extension, you click on extension, you search here, so search for live server. When you search for live server to display multiple live servers, go ahead and click the first one and we install. Once installed, it will be able now to run this program on a live server. So I'll go ahead and minimize my screen, then right click and open with a live server to see what we have right now. So these are the things that we have right now. So they are not good looking right now, but we will designing them using the CSS. So we'll navigate to a CSS section and start designing this. So we'll select every component within our HTML and we'll have a margin of, need to have it a margin of 0, also a padding 0, and we'll apply some box sizing. So box sizing, it will be border sizing, border box, it will be border box. Then let's select our body. Our body section, it will contain some, our body section will contain some also CSS. So we need to create a background image for our project. So we'll have a background image, and this image will have a minimum height of 100 ph. So an image background, so to have a background image, we'll using the URL to pass the file path for our image. So here we'll pass our file path, so we'll specify it's within photos. Then within photos we have the background. So let's see how it will look like. So this is how our background look like. Now it's not looking good. This is because the position of our image and the size of our image is too large, so we'll be positioned that right now. So let's come here and specify the background position of our image. So background position, I want it to be center. Also the background size, we need to have a background size of cover, should be covered. So and now it should be good, it should look quite better. As you can see, now it's looking good. So let's proceed with our designing. So again, we'll select our header. Let's come here and select our header, control copy, it's within the ID. So using the ID, you use the hash. So using hash here, since it is an ID. Then within the header we have some, we want to align this text to center, so we'll have a text alignment center. Also we need to add some font size, of these components. So go ahead and add a font size of, let's go with 28 pixels. We'll need to a font weight to look more, the words should be, let's say, bold. So go with a font weight of bold. We need also to color our components, so let's give them a color. So color, it will have a color of orange, it will have this color, so we have that color. And also we need a font family, go with the font family. I do love MV Bolly, go out with MV Bolly. And you will need, the last thing we'll need is the font style. Font style should be italic. For this one we'll use italic. So control save, and you can see it's now looking pretty cool. So let's proceed with the design. So the next thing we need, let's select our button. Let's designing our button. As you can see, it's not looking good. Now let's design our button. So navigate here and select the button. It's an ID, so using the hashtag specify the button. Within the button we need to do some padding. Here, so we'll have a padding top. Need a padding top of 12 pixels and also 20 pixels top and bottom. We need also to increase this font size, so we'll have a font size of, I'll be using 35 pixels for this. Also we need a border. We need to remove this border, so border should be none. Also we need to give this some background color. Our button should have a background color, so background color, I'll be using some RGB values. So go ahead and use 102, 153 and 249. Be using this. So let's see. Yeah, it's looking good. Now let's curve these sharp corners. We're using a border radius, so go with a border radius. I'll be using a border radius of around 9 pixels. So I'll be using 9 pixels. The next thing I'll be using, I'll have a font weight. With the font weight also will be bold. We need a font family. As usual, be using a font family for MB Bold. Also you'll need font style. Go with the font style of italic. Then we need to give this button, so we need to give the name, the button name, at least a black color. So I'll give it a color code. I'm going to give it a color code. Have a color code here, so I'll give it a color code of, it will be an HSL value. To be an HSL value of using 0 with a 0% and brightness of 5. That one, let's save and see. It's looking good. Also we need, it's overflowing, so let's minimize this to be 30 pixels. It will be 35. Then we'll need to increase, let's go this with normal and see the behavior. Check, it's not bad. So the next thing we'll go ahead and do, we'll whenever we navigate, our cursor should be pointed at this place. Whenever we hover this, it will be pointer. So let's add a cursor should be pointer, so we'll go with a cursor pointer. Let's save and see. So you can see, if we hover over this, the pointer is changing. Then let's create a hover effect. Whenever we navigate here, the color change, so it'll create a hover. So let's copy this and adding a hover effect. So we want our background color to change, so control copy, control paste, and I want our color to change, so I'll be using this color here, control copy, and be using it here, control V. So, and I will use some HLS value, yeah, that one, and we'll be reducing the brightness up to 35%. Be using 35%. Then let's see if we hover over it, it's changing. So the next thing we'll need, so we'll also need to add an active. Whenever we click on it, it will change on color to show that it has been clicked. So we'll come here and add an active effect. So we'll copy this, and here we'll add add an active effect. So we're using an active class and we want our background to change to this color, so control copy. So I'm changing to that color. We'll be increasing some brightness up to 69%. Let's increase our brightness. Sorry, not for this one. This one should be remain 35. I'll be using some HLS value here. Be using some HLS value, so the color is 69 exactly the way I wanted. So whenever we click on it, it's changing, as you can see. So we need to add a transition of around 3 or 4 seconds. So we'll be adding a transition. So transition, to add a transition background, transition of 0.4 second, should be ease in and out. Control C. So as you can see, you see that effect. It's cool. Let's increase this. Let's reduce this to 3 and see. It's not bad. So let's proceed. So the next thing we need to design our input. We need to design this input. So let's go ahead and design our input. So number of dies, this is our input. Copy the ID. Let's come to our CS. Let's design our input. So our input, we'll increase the font size. We're using a font size of 32 pixels. We need to align our text. Right now it is at the left corner. We need to align it to center. So text alignment should be center. The next thing we need to do, we need to increase the width. It will have a width of around 140 pixels. Let's see, the width has been increased. That's cool. Let's curve these corners. So we'll have a border radius of, I'll be using 12 pixels for this. Not bad. So the next thing we'll do, we'll increase the font width. Be using a font width for this one. I'll be using bold. Also we need a font family, using a font family of sans serif. Also we'll need a font style, should be normal, using normal. And we'll need to color our input. So we're using a color code, which will be LSH, using this one, the one I used before. So that way. It's cool. So let's design this label. Let's change the color of our label here. So we'll select our label, class a label ID, and within our label we'll increase the font size to be around 26 pixels. Also we'll need to a font weight. It will be bold, and last we need to a color. We'll give it a color yellow green, using a yellow green, this color to be cool. And see, wow, it's looking quite good. So let's design our output. Let's design this output results showing the number of dice roll here, and also we need to design our image, the image that will be appearing on this web page here. We need to design them, so we need at least to give it some margin of around 6 pixels for the image and around 25 pixels for the numeric value for the output results. So let's copy this, control copy. This is for dice results, so come here, let's design that. So our output result will have a margin. Let's give it a margin of 24 pixels, and also let's do the same for our image dice. Control copy. We'll need to give it a margin of 6 pixels. So let's save. So that's the only CSS that we need for this project. So now you can see right now there's nothing we can do. We simply add, but if we try to roll this dice, there is no changes. This is because we need to apply some functionality within our project, so that whenever we click this button, it will be able to perform some function, and one of those functions is rolling a die. So let's go to the JavaScript section and define our function. We'll need to use these IDs that we have specified within our project to enable functionality to our project. So without further ado, let's go ahead and add some functionality to our Java. So remember, you should have linked your JavaScript with JavaScript file. So let's go ahead and enter some comments. This will be JavaScript. It will be JavaScript program. JavaScript program for rolling dice. So we need to create a function. We need to define here a function. Then we have a function name here, so we'll copy this function name, control copy, come here and copy that function name that way. So rolling dice. Then within this function we need to define some variables. We need the variables that will be able to get element by the ID. So we'll need to define variables that will store this element ID. We need variables that will store these elements, this one. So let's create them. Let's copy the first one. So we'll be using this ID as the variable name as well as the element that we need to fetch. So we'll come here and create a constant. Since we are not expecting this value to change anywhere, so we'll be using a constant that will be using document dot get element by ID. So document dot get element by an ID, and then our ID is same. This is the ID of our component. As you can see, this is our ID. We want to get this whenever this value has been inputted here. We want to get this value, this exact value. So we'll use the .get value function here. So we'll simply specify the value here and we'll pick the value for that. Specify here the value. Then let's proceed and create another constant. So we'll just copy this to save time. Let's copy this. Let's paste it 2 times. Be using this 2 times exactly. Then we need to take the result output ID, this one, control copy, be using here, control V, change also this one, and also we need this one, copy the image ID, control copy and replace it here. Also replace it here, and we are good to go. Let's minimize this to make our screen look a little bit bigger. Also, we'll need to declare some 2 arrays. We'll need to create 2 arrays. So we'll create an array within our function. So let's go ahead and create. So we'll create an array for storing random, for storing values that will be generated by our random. Be using our random. We'll be using math.random function generated by a math random function. So we'll be using this. So those random numbers that will be generated, we will be storing them within an array. So we'll have an array value for storing the value, and another array that will be going to push our images according to the random generated values. So I'll declare 2 constants. I'll be using constant name value. This value, it will be an array, and also we need another const for image, call this images, and then we'll pass it to also be an array. That's cool. Now let's create a loop. We'll create a for loop depending on the number. This for loop will run depending on the value specified here. If you specify, let's say if you specify 4, this loop will iterate 4 times and will generate in each iteration it will be generating a value number, and this number we will push them inside our array. So those is our targeted. What we are targeting, we want every time it iterates the number that the random generated number that is being found to be pushed within our array of value, as well as will create as well as it will reflect on our images. As you can see, our images, we have rename our images in form of numbers. If it is if in case of a random number 1 has been generated, we will push that one here, as well as we'll push the corresponding value for 1, which will represent the die number 1, which is a die image representing the value 1. So that's what we are planning to do here. So let's go ahead and create a for loop for that one. So let's create a for loop. It will run depending on the number of dice rolled. So I'll come here and we'll be creating. So let's write a comment. Have a for loop. This will be a for loop to iterate. It will be iterating according to number of dice roll, according to number of dice specified. So for loop, create a for loop. Let's define a variable. Let I equal to 0. whenever I is less than number of dice roll, copy that. So Control V, let's close this, let's keep popping. Whenever this condition is true, we'll keep on increasing the value of I. Then there are some tasks we need to perform within this for loop. First of all, we need to create another constant that will store this random generated value that will be generated using a random function, using a math.random function. So create a constant and we'll give this name the generated, let's say generated values. These values will be generated through create a math.random function. So this function will generate some random values, and these values that are being generated, when we need to generate a random value from 1 to 6. We need to generate random value from 1 to 6. So the next thing we'll do, we'll have to multiply this random value, we'll have to multiply by 6, indicating that we need to generate value from 1 to 6. Then all this we need to cover it with a math.flow function to convert the decimal to get rid of decimal values. So you'll use a math flow to get rid of those decimals, and then we need to add the value 1. We need to add the value 1. This is because the value will be generated from, the value that will be generated here is from 1 to 5. So if it's generated 0, we'll be adding 1 to make it the meaning the 1 value. If you generated up to 5, from 0 up to 5, then the last value is 5. Here the output will be adding 1 to make 6. If you generated 4, 4 plus 1 to make it 5. In case we generated 0, 0 plus 1 to make it 1. Hope you understand how this works. So this will be working that way. Then let's close this. So the next thing we need whenever we iterate through this, that random value that has been generated, we need to push that value inside our array. So these random values that will be generated up to the specified number of dice to be rolled will be stored within this array of value. Let's give it values to make it more make sense. So meaning it will having multiple values like 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are values that will be pushed inside here. So we'll need to go ahead and create another constant value. We need to use these values exactly to push whatever we have get from these random generated numbers that have been stored within the generated value. So we'll use values, the dot push method to push. We want to push the generated random values within our array. So we're using that one to push those random values. Also we need to do the same for our image. Also we need, let's say if the value 1 has been generated for the first iteration, 1 will be pushed within the array of values. Also the image will use a placeholder whereby we'll be able to relate that value 1 as relate it to behave like it's going to push an image 1. This image will be pushed whenever that random is, depending on the number that has been generated. So within the image, you'll also use the image. So we'll be using the images.push method. Also we'll be pushing. Now on this one we have to specify, let's specify the file path and set all the CSS that we need for design of image that we want to push. So within this push, we will use this slanting string. It's on the left corner of your keyboard around the escape. Use that one. So because you want to use some placeholder, that's why you need to use that one. So we'll be using what's that slanting strings. So let's use an image. We want to use image. So image, and within this image we want to specify the source of our image. The source of our image will need to specify the path. The path as usual it will be slash photos, as the image is within photos, so it will be slash photos, then did slash again. Now we need to put here a placeholder. We need to put a placeholder in case it has been, in case the value 1 has been stored as a random value here. We'll need that value, that generated value, and we'll use a placeholder. We'll use a placeholder to specify. Let's say it's 1 has been generated, so the value here will be 1, and then outside here we'll use a .jpg since it's a jpg value. So if it is 1 has been generated here, it will go and pick this image and push it inside the image variable. So since we don't know the value that will be generated whenever this for loop iterate, that's why we need to use these generated random values and place here within our placeholder. So we'll place it here, so we'll place that one here, and also we need to specify the height and the width of our, we'll be specifying the height. It's good to specify the image height so that it will be look a little bit better. So image height will be using an image height of 200, also with a width of, using a width of 200 also. Also, in case these images fail, in case the images fail to appear here, we'll need to have alternative option that will telling us that that picture that has not displayed here, it means, or it contains this information. So we'll add an alternative option. So alternative option, go ahead and add an alternative option. So go an alternative option. This alternative option will contain the, we'll call it the die, let's name it dies. So it will be a die result, it will be a dies. Then we need to place a placeholder also, as well as we need a placeholder here, and the placeholder will be for a generated value. So we'll use the generated value. If it is 1, it will say that die. If it is the value is 1 here, it will be die is 1, meaning that this image represent die is 1. So close this, need to close this, and we need to close this image tag with that arrow, and then we are good to go. So it should be that way. Then let's navigate outside our for loop and now display whatever we get to our display option here. So we'll go ahead and display everything that we got from our, whenever this we click this function, this button, whatever, everything we should be output on this section. So let's go ahead and use this ID here, output result. We'll copy that and use it here. So output result dot, be using dot text content, then text content will be equal to use this slanting string, then we'll pass this message. It will be dies result, just say dies result, then dies result, then we'll need to pass a placeholder as well. So the importance of using these slanting strings is because we'll be able to use the placeholder, and then we'll use the join function to join this dies result. Let's say we use 3 dies. These 3 dies, we want them to be separated by, we want them to be joined together using a comma, so it will be comma separated. So we'll be using a placeholder. What are we want to join? We want to join these values, so we want to join the values that has been generated, then using the join function. Within the join function, we want to join them using a comma separate, so we'll be using that one, and it will be good to go. Now let's come to our final one, which is image dies. Control copy. We'll be using an inner HTML for this one, so Control V dot inner inner HTML. Be using an inner HTML to display our image, since our image are within the HTML folder. So also we're using an image join function. So we want to join our images using an empty string. We want to separate these images using an empty string. So we'll go ahead and select images. Then these images will join them by use a join function, and we will separate them with an empty string. So you can use that one or you can use this one. It has no difference. Separating them with an empty string. Go ahead and so these are the only CSS that we needed for this side. We have an error here, and verify breakpoint file and modify, please. Let's check where is this coming from. Let's try to save and see. Line 22. Let's check here. We don't have any problem. Let's see if it's working. It's working. So I don't know why this is pointing to you, but I don't see any problem with the code. So let's go ahead and try now to see if our project is complete. So let's expand this, and now let's try to roll one die. As you can see, the die's result is 3, and also on the image is 3. If we roll again, the die's result is 5, and the the image represent 5. As well as we continue to roll these dies, these are the results. If we increase the number of dies and try to roll, we're expecting 4 2 4 2, again the same. If we go and roll again, 5 3 5 3. If we increases this to 4, if we roll, got 4 4 2 2 4 4 2 2. So let's increase again to 7. We are getting 7 output. 4 2 2 2 3 5 6 4 2 2 2 3 5 6. If we increase this to maximum 9, we'll be getting 9 outputs. As you can see, if we decrease this up to 1, meaning you cannot go ahead to extent of 1, so we'll be having 1 maximum. Also, you cannot exceed 9. So this is what we were trying to build. So as you can see, we managed to build our simple dice rolling game. So thanks guys for your time. Try on your side to practice, try to make it more better than this one. Try to practice, and so you know that practice make perfect. So this was for today's video. So thanks for your time guys, thanks for everything. Keep supporting my channel. Hope to see you in the next video. I'm expecting to come up some simple programs that will buy time, that will use as a treat for your friends or other people. So remember to subscribe for more videos like this. Hope to see you in the next video. It's goodbye. Thanks for your time. Remember to subscribe again. Remember to subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much. Thank you so much.